Welcome to my journey with Al, Alzheimer's, and I'm here with my dad, Dr. Charlie Farrell, and we are talking about the journals that he writes for his family members to read about his journey with dementia, and then I read those journals. I interview him about it a little bit so that we can raise awareness.
Okay, we're ready to go, girl.
All right. And today we're going to be talking about exercise. All right, from June 16th, 2021. I'm just hanging out here with Al, thinking about exercise. Al wants to know why. Al, as you know, is just like a big teddy bear, which Dad and I both have. Not aggressive, he's just here and trying to get me not to do things I used to do or that I want to do. Telling me I'm just too old and unstable and confused. And you want to exercise? Give me a break. Well, it is possible that my lifestyle, especially aerobic exercise, may have staved off dementia to the ripe old age of 84 already. Of all the single factors known to have some effect on the progression of dementia, exercise is far and away the most effective. When a person is diagnosed with dementia, folks seem to assume that their life is over, and Al has convinced them that it's useless to try to live, let alone to live well. I disagree. I'm disabled and I need some accommodations. I can swim, but I cannot swim well without some extra flotation. I can still be competitive. And 2 years ago, I came in first in my age group in a 1 mile open water race in the wetsuit division. I intend to do the same this year. More importantly, exercise enriches my life on a daily basis. As I mentioned in another video, clutter is really difficult for me to manage. When I'm surrounded by clutter, I actually freeze. I, like most persons with early stage dementia, have lost my ability to sequence. When I swim, however, everything is simple. 2 pieces, no clutter, just me and the water. When I move my body forward, I move forward. It's comforting and it's safe. It's like being in my own cocoon, safe in my own world. This is true for many forms of aerobic exercise, walking, running, biking, etc. How has swimming been going? You've been in open water recently, right? At home?
Just got an open water this past week and doing very well. The water is almost 70 degrees here,
Nice.
which is kind of cool for Texas, but gets livable for us. We swam yesterday morning in Lake Erie and at the park downtown. Had a beautiful morning. So it's all going well.
Awesome. And you have been swimming for, I don't even know how long. I remember when you really got into swimming and it was after you had a leg problem right after you went with us to Disney World so that we could run the half marathon, and you and Mom were taking care of little Jeffrey. He was like 3, probably 3. And you got off the plane and had a really hard time running ever since then. You had a hip problem. I just feel bad about that.
Well, got a lot of problems going to Disneyland. I think that never has done me well. But
It's the happiest place on earth.
so
It was also probably the longest half marathon
it was.
ever.
Yes,
I took a long time.
You're lucky your son survived.
That's true. Well, he had you and Mom.
He did at the end, that's for sure. But I think the other thing that occurred, and that's somewhere around 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
That's when Mom was having difficulty, and the only exercise that she could do regularly was water aerobics.
Right.
So we built a endless pool room for her, and that was very helpful for her for several years. In the meantime, having had an endless pool, I thought I should learn how to swim in it, and I took swimming lessons for the first time that I can remember, at least real swimming lessons. And I did sort of okay in the pool, but I could never swim in the endless pool.
Mm-hmm.
And as of this morning, things haven't gotten any better. So for 15 years, I still can't deal with the current in the endless pool.
Right. And for people who don't know, an endless pool is a pool that it's pretty short. It's not like a whole lane, but it runs a current through the water to mimic as if you're swimming in moving water, right?
You swim into the current, and the biggest problem I have with that is because you're swimming into the current, I've never been able to uh, just stop and move with the inertia, move with the breaths that the stroke that I've just taken. As soon as I stop moving, I start moving backwards. Anyway, it's something to do, and we still do it at home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of my love of water, which is becoming one of my best friends.
That's awesome. And I know that you have been talking a little about how water makes you feel, which I thought was pretty cool. So you talked about it being like a cocoon in your journal, right?
Yes,
And that feels pretty comforting.
it is. Surprisingly,
You and I
really,
talked.
it
Oh, go
really
ahead.
puts me in a place where I feel very comfortable and safe with all the stuff that's going around me, especially when things get confused
Mm-hmm.
and there's more than one thing moving in my space at that time. I never had that problem in the water, even if I'm swimming in the water that's somewhat rough. The water pushes me around, but it still supports me.
So
And
you
that
feel.
of support is very comforting.
Mm-hmm. So you feel supported and you're not going to drown. That's the opposite of me.
So far, that's working.
That's good. And you and I talked a little bit about how also, if you look at Temple Grandin's work about deep pressure therapy, that you notice the water feels a little bit like that cocoon, the pressure, and it might be a little bit, that's one of the things that might make you feel safe or a little bit more relaxed.
I think so. As you know better than I, now there are many tools, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
compression clothes or that you can put on yourself or use it on dogs and other animals that feel comforting.
Right.
I wonder if we humans can't get the same effect from water. To me, I do, but then,
Yeah. Right.
and I guess the other interesting thing with the water, I feel even more comfortable and safe if I'm swimming with the wetsuit,
Mm-hmm.
because that by itself is a fair amount of pressure over your whole body.
Oh, that's true. I
And
forgot about that.
that being in the water, it's even more comforting.
Yeah. And you float a little bit better in a wetsuit, right? Like,
I do, yeah.
yeah. What about you and I have talked about exercise and brain health and the research about how exercise may delay the progression of dementia. And I do hope that that's what happened for you. um, what you looking for?
I'm looking for a book go ahead.
Yeah.
Remember the hormone that's created in your brain with aerobic exercise.
But yeah, so the research shows that aerobic exercise increases BDNF, which is brain derived neurotrophic factor.
And that increases the amount of blood that goes through the small vessels in your brain, which ought to increase the amount of oxygen in your brain.
Right. And then it can also increase neurotransmitters and improve the neural connections in your brain as well. So it is definitely amazing for our brain and important. And we used to use the bike and swimming with mom. And we used the bike with mom because of the pedaling. It was 90 beats per minute that we needed to keep her at, right?
Well, we use that because mom's
Gotcha.
Lewy body dementia has similar protein components as Parkinsonism.
Mm-hmm.
And patients with Parkinsonism can control their tremors by rhythmic aerobic exercise, especially on a bike, and by riding on a tandem bike, the person with disease pedals, but their partner controls the cadence of the pedaling.
Mm-hmm.
And on long bike rides, they find that their tremors are totally controlled till the next day and sometimes longer.
Right. And yeah, I liked riding on the bike with mom. That was fun. We took her on the tandem bike so that we pedaled on the front and she could sit on the back and still get the repetitions and stuff. It's pretty fast, but it was good.
Yeah, let's back up just a little bit.
Sure.
In the beginning of this discussion, I think I mentioned the fact that for some reason, as soon as a person is given a diagnosis of dementia,
Right.
uh, in most publications, it implies that their functional life is stopped. You're just done.
Mhm.
And no one ought to consider that you can create any structure in your own life. You're now a person without any form and without any brain. And I believe that's
Right.
totally untrue. As long as I can move, I can compete in any number of activities depending on what my abilities were before I developed it. And
Right.
the only thing I could really do well and enjoyed was running. And I did that for 50 years. And I went from just running to multi-sport exercise so I could add to that biking and swimming, which are non-weight bearing exercise, so I could continue to do more
Right.
uh, because I couldn't tolerate much weight bearing due to some chronic long-term spinal stenosis.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be pretty active and you can be pretty useful for quite a long time. And to give that up or to tell a person that they're no longer welcome being a part of a business or
Mm-hmm.
a social group is very detrimental to the person with dementia. They do have a disability and they need accommodation to continue to function, but they deserve that from other
Mm-hmm.
people and they deserve that from the community as well.
Right. As a trainer, I think people forget that if we learn how to um, fill in kind of like the gap of where somebody is struggling to remember things. Like if you're not doing an aerobic exercise, but like if somebody's with me doing more of a CrossFit workout, if you demonstrate the movement, most of the time, if they see me do it, that is an environmental cue to their brain and they follow what I do. So there are tons of ways to make different types of exercise accessible through not really super complicated, modifications and stuff. And I think it's important that places learn about that because, I would love to see um, different types of exercise classes based on needs of different brains,
Concepts that I'd like to get across is that you're still functional, useful, uh, when somebody tells you you have dementia.
Right.
The accommodations that should be available to us from our family, our community, our state,
Mm-hmm.
like any other disability.
Right.
Thank you all for spending some time with us and sharing my story with you. I hope it's been helpful. We want this to be an interactive experience.
Go ahead and comment below under the video. And if you have any questions or anything or want to contact us, you can use the email that's on the YouTube channel.
I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.